Long time no update about the CSP program, so let's update you today and let's talk about what's the latest in the CSP program and what does this mean for you. So a couple of months back, Broadcom made the announcement to further shrink down the CSP program. By now, we have a new list of Pinnacle providers, which at least currently seem to stay in the program. According to Broadcom, no one else is going to join that program anymore. According to my sources, some of the people on that list are still rethinking if they are going to stay on the program because they have identified that the program is not working as expected for them. Let alone, there is a lot of other service providers which are currently registered, which will fall out, which are either currently premier partners or small-scale partners which will drop out at the bottom because they are white labels anyway. We have spoken to hundreds of you in the last couple of weeks, have listened to all the stories, listened to the environments, to the scenarios, and also spoken a lot with Broadcom around the different scenarios. And a lot of people asked for advice on what to do and how to do that. So first and foremost, there is a download link at the end or below where you can download a PDF which has a lot of information, a lot of questions you can ask yourself, your future partner provider, and a lot of that which should hopefully help you. So scenario one on how you can continue after March 27, starting April 27, because let's start with that first. Your existing contract up until March 27 is valid. And it's not necessarily going to end, even though someone might want it to end. There are multiple parties involved. It's not so easy to do the transfer as some people make you think. It exists. It's going to stick around until March 27. Let's stick for that. So you are safe up until then, except for the overage scenarios. That's a bit of a different story, but there are legal questions on that topic as well. So what are your options? Option one, identify whether you really need to be a CSP in the first place, and I come back to that option at a later point in time in the video. Option two, there is a set of the Pinnacle providers which provide OEM sub-programs, let's not call it white label program, different types of programs for existing CSPs to actually continue to provide VMware licenses under the new terms. What are these new terms? The very, very clear fact is the hardware needs to be owned by the new master service provider. That's important. They need to manage the hardware, which from my point of view includes firmware and a bunch of other things, and that might be a no-go solution for many already. They need to operate the bare bone of the VCF infrastructure, which includes that they might give you some level of admin privileges, but it's not 100% clear to which level that can be. And keep in mind how changeable Broadcom is from a contract perspective. Even if they allow pretty high privileges now, that might change in the near future, and then you might be bound in that system. So be very, very clear in that scenario, and also when you talk about exit clauses and stuff like that, about going together with another service provider. Also, there are a lot of questions in these scenarios is, let's say, CSP A owns the hardware, operates it in your data center. So that is something which is still a bit wacky with Broadcom. It might be okay, it might not be okay. There was no 100% clear answer on that. Make sure that you have that in writing, that it can be owned by you. Who operates network? What about OS licenses, Microsoft, Red Hat, Oracle, all of these things you operate on your infrastructure? Can that still be licensed by you as a sub-CSP, or does this now need to come from the primary one? And who is going to take liability in case of license audits and all of these things? You see, there is a plethora of questions. That is why we created the PDF document with a long list of questions, which you should ask yourself, but also your future partner if you want to go down that route. And also make sure about competitive rules and everything else. Again, we are not going to offer any of these scenarios by intent. After our discussions last year with Hock, we made a clear decision that ComDivision is going to move over into the resell and professional services business only, which means we are still providing professional services for you as CSPs from an architecture, design, etc. perspective. Many of the Pinnacle providers have already signed up with us for future support in other scenarios, so there is a very clear scenario there. But we are not going to offer any kind of sub-CSP business whatsoever. It just doesn't make any sense for us because we do not 100%, let's be honest, believe in this new model. It works for the ones which are Pinnacle, but any kind of these submodels, from my perspective, are very unclear and the scenarios with potential future changes in the licensing models and everything else might make this really, really difficult to be sustainable. That's my personal point of view, and I'm very clear and honest with that. That's my opinion on that. That is why we actually also decided to not stay in the program, which was a perfectly fine decision. So that's one scenario. If you want to go down that route, make sure you have until March 27. In most cases, your existing CSP will not let you out of the program anyway. Second scenario, you go down the route which Amar actually mentioned, M&A, in what kind of fashion, whether you sell off the contracts, customer information, existing hardware, or just your VMware business or your global business. This is something where you need a partner on your side. As many of you, or as some of you know, because we have worked in the past on that, we are here to actually help that. We have worked with some of the largest M&A banks in the world, some private equity firms, when it came especially in the US, but also partially in Europe in the last 25 years to mergers in the VMware space, and have been helping with evaluations and business plans and stuff like that. If you want to get my personal advice on your business and stuff like that, there is a link and some guidance on what that process would look like. In there, we are actually going to do that not on the payroll of any of the banks or other CSPs. We are going to provide that independently. That is for all the services. We have taken a very, very clear stance that we are not going to favor any other master CSP or private equity firm or M&A bank or anything else. We are going to offer these services to you as CSPs. And you can decide whether you want to have us as an independent advisor from that perspective or not. So M&A we can help you with. Third option is, coming back to the absolute beginning, is the resell option. In many or several of the cases, you might not need a CSP license. That requires thorough review and a clear documentation on the way on how your business works and everything else. Then this can be presented back to Broadcom, and then we can analyze with them if a resell license might be applicable for you. We know that people actually come around and often say, it's like, yeah, if there is any external third party accessing VMware, you need a CSP license. If that would be the case, no web servers would be allowed on the VMware platform. You would not be allowed to open your ERP system to third parties on the outside. You would not be allowed to run an email server or many other things. You would not be allowed when it comes to talking about API creation of virtual machines. Imagine you run Kubernetes and you actually want to have a self-scaling or auto-scaling Kubernetes cluster, and workloads actually make it scale. That basically means a third party initiates a scale of your virtual machines and actually expands it. If an external attack triggers something in your infrastructure to shut down networking or something like that, that's a third party from the outside, legally speaking, making changes to your infrastructure. So once you take all of that into consideration, the typical argument from many actually gets very small. And so now it comes down to admin privileges and a few other things, and we can have a discussion if that might be applicable for you or not, and we are here to help you on that side. So that's option number 3. Option number 4 is you are going to switch to another platform. Good luck with that. To be honest, we have reviewed with several service providers other alternatives. They work for some, but not for everybody. I think option 1, 2, 3 might be your better option. You still have a bit over a year time. Take the time, but also get on your way. So that you can start the migration and start getting off the platform. However, keep in mind that most likely you're going to have to pay VMware up until March 27. So it's a bit of an interesting migration move whatsoever scenario. We are still going to be here over the next couple of months and actually going to provide you with the latest and greatest in the CSP update perspective. We have decided very, very clearly in the last couple of weeks that we are going to take an independent role from the sidelines. So we are not going to favor A, B, or C service providers. However, if we are going to get any information from any of the other CSPs, which are no-go areas which we identify from any of the Pinnacle CSPs, we are going to be here and actually make them very clear visible, because This is not the time where these CSPs in urgent needs actually should get ripped off in any way or fashion or form. And that's why I keep reminding you, your existing contract is up until March 27. Don't get rushed in to sign something which you do not fully understand. We are even here to help you with that or guide you towards legal firms which are specialized and can help you analyze the content. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Stay tuned for more updates. And I know it's not the outcome you wanted to hear, but that's what we are here for, to give you always the true and honest answer from our perspective. And that was the current latest update.